Tonight, a former Army official says key intel about terror groups in Iraq was ignored by U.S. Central Command. He is here in a Hannity exclusive. And an AP investigation reveals that smugglers were trying to sell nuclear material to ISIS.
They're never going to accept me because I don't believe in political correctness.
Then Dr. Benjamin Carson under attack from the mainstream media, but he refuses to back down.
I can twist myself into pretzels trying to fit into their silly little box, or I can be who I am.
The 2016 contender is here tonight to respond. Plus, Hillary Clinton's server scandal grows. Ed Henry has a full report. Plus, Ainsley Earhardt is here with the latest 2016 poll numbers. Hannity starts right here, right now. And welcome to Hannity Tonight. Brand new poll numbers just released today reveal that 2016 outsider candidates are connecting well with you, the voters, in very important key swing states. And standing by tonight at the Hannity Big Board with the very latest, the co-host of Fox and Friends First, Ainsley Earhardt. Big night with polls tonight.
Yeah, it is. It's always fun to look at these polls. Let me tell you about them tonight, Sean. The trend of voters supporting candidates who come from outside of Washington continues to show up in three very important swing states. New Quinnipiac poll numbers bring more good news for Donald Trump and for Dr. Ben Carson. In Pennsylvania, Trump is leading with 23%, while Carson comes in second place with 17%. They are followed by Marco Rubio, Carly Fiorina, Ted Cruz, and then Chris Christie. Down in Florida, Donald Trump holding a sizable lead there as well with 28%. Carson comes in second place with 16%. Marco Rubio is next, Jeb Bush, and they both hail from that state, as you know. They come in at third and fourth place, followed by Fiorina, and then followed by Cruz. Then let's go to Ohio. Trump and Carson are in first and second place, 23 and 18%. Current Ohio Governor John Kasich is in third place with 13%, followed by Cruz, Fiorina, and then Rubio. Well, as for Democrats in these same states, Sean, Hillary Clinton holds strong leads down in Florida as well as Ohio over Vice President Joe Biden, who has not yet even declared his candidacy, and Senator Bernie Sanders. The numbers, as you can see, are a little tighter in Pennsylvania. Sean, it will be very interesting to see what happens if Biden does jump into this race. He's reportedly talking with his family about it, about his political future over the weekend. We, of course, will keep our eyes out, our ears open, and we'll report back to you, Sean.
All right, Ainsley, great numbers. Very interesting. It's getting fascinating. Also tonight, Fox News has confirmed that the FBI is now looking at data from a second tech company related to Hillary Clinton's personal server scandal. So just how bad is the Clinton campaign reacting, and how bad is it for them? Standing by in D.C., he has the very latest. Our own Ed Henry. Ed, what's the latest?
Good evening, Sean. Interesting. The FBI is now expanding its investigation of Hillary Clinton's server to include obtaining data, which has now been turned over from a second tech company, Datto Inc. It's based in Connecticut. They were hired by the Colorado-based Platte River, which oversaw the server, to help back up the data. Though a source familiar with the investigation tells me the tech employees did not have security clearances to handle classified information. That is angering Republican Senator Ron Johnson of Wisconsin. He's chairman of the Senate Homeland Security Committee, and he says he has real problems with how the former Secretary of State handled all of this. Listen.
Platte River Networks, they contracted with Datto to store the backup information on a device with the server, and really were surprised when they found out the data was transmitting that to the cloud. And so, my guess is damage control. But again, this just shows how sloppy, and again, that just reckless disregard for national security interests, the dereliction of duty of Secretary Clinton, is being revealed here.
Now, the Clinton camp today was trying to basically tie Ron Johnson to Kevin McCarthy with his comments to you last week, Sean, about the Benghazi Committee, saying, quote, Ron Johnson is ripping a page from the House Benghazi Committee's playbook and mounting his own taxpayer-funded sham out of an investigation with the sole purpose of attacking Hillary Clinton politically. The Justice Department's independent review is led by non-political career professionals, and Ron Johnson has no business interfering with it for his own partisan ends. But interesting, Ron Johnson has also obtained some emails from some of the employees out there at Platte River that oversaw the server. One of the employees at one point wrote that he was wondering if there was a record of a, quote, directive to cut the backup of Clinton's data. In another, at another point, this employee also said he was wondering if, quote, this whole thing really is covering up some shady bleep. We've got to bleep out that expletive. Clearly, inside this tech company, at least the first one in Colorado, there were concerns that data was being deleted, Sean.
That's unbelievable, that story, and we're going to continue to follow it. And there's a lot of issues involving whether or not they're legal matters here. Thank you, Ed Henry. Appreciate it. Here with reaction, editor-in-chief of LifeZet.com, Laura Ingraham, and from the Weekly Standard, Steve Hayes. All right, guys, let's go to the polls first, then we'll go back to the IT issue. Laura, when you really look at it, it's Trump, Carson, Carly, Cruz, Rubio, Bush, and maybe Christie. Should the other candidates at this point start considering getting out?
Well, I don't know what they're doing staying in much longer. There are a lot of these candidates, Sean, who are at single digits and low single digits and have basically not moved out of that territory for over 2 months. At this point, there are certain candidates, like when you think of a Rand Paul, for instance. Rand Paul's got to worry about a Senate seat at this point, and he said some time ago.
Well, maybe
that
George Pataki or Lindsey Graham.
Yeah,
I mean.
Yeah. Well, who knows? I mean, a lot of people weren't even sure that Pataki was still around when he started to run. So
the Pataki moment is coming.
Okay.
You guys shouldn't be so cynical. I can sense the Pataki moment is upon us.
Yeah, all right.
Mr.
Weisenheimer.
They all got to get out. Well, I mean, it's at this point. It's not a Republican employment program running for president, but you see that a lot of people feel like this is their next moment before the next increase in speaking fees or the next book contract. But it's not working across the board for a number of candidates, and I think most people know that.
You look at these new poll numbers, and, Steve, you have not been a Trump fan. He is held steady now month after month, poll after poll. Some slight variations, but minimal at best. What's your reaction to his sustainability at this point? I mean, you can't argue with these constant numbers.
No, I mean, he did have a little slide in some of the national polling from early August to about a week ago. If you look at the Fox numbers, you look at the NBC numbers, the Bloomberg numbers, he slipped in some of those polls. But, the Reuters Ipsos poll out today, he was doing well in that. Look, he's the front runner, and until I think he makes the kind of mistakes that are going to matter to his supporters, he will remain the front runner. The big question, I think, is among the candidates who are below him or who are poised to rise, which one is it going to be? Is somebody going to break out? We've seen Ben Carson seem to have his moment. He seems now to perhaps be eclipsed by Carly Fiorina, who's rising. You've seen Marco Rubio's numbers improve. Jeb Bush's numbers really haven't improved much. I think the next question is who emerges as, the candidate to potentially take on Donald Trump in a one-on-one way.
Laura, let me go back to the Hillary issue, which Ed Henry was reporting on. Now the State Department is saying to Hillary, we want more emails. Now we find another company that has a cloud in Connecticut. They might have the emails. The FBI might have even been able to recover the 33,000 emails that she deleted. But more interesting is this Platte River company. And when they were given orders over the phone to start deleting the emails after they had been subpoenaed by both the State Department and a congressional committee, now we're really talking about obstruction of justice. Yeah. And in the words of that one company employee, some shady stuff.
Yeah, well, destruction of evidence in an investigation or in an anticipatory fashion, Sean. If you anticipate an investigation, this is a felony. I mean, you do real time for this. This is serious stuff. And it kind of reminds you in a way, although I think it worse in many ways than Whitewater. Remember Whitewater started as one thing, and then it became many other things, and the diagram was so impossible to figure out at the end. But when you look at these focus groups that have been done recently about Hillary, it is amazing that the Democrats have kind of baked all this in. They know she shouldn't have done this. And I think it all becomes white noise to the Democrat voters who are just absolutely intent upon believing Hillary, even if they, go ahead.
I don't want to interrupt you, but you raise a good point. And we're still in all of these polls, it's all 60+% people do not find her honest and trustworthy. That includes the 3 swing states that Ainsley was talking about. Here's Bloomberg Politics, John Heilemann and Halpern, they do a focus group. Listen to what this woman says. I mean, you shouldn't even be saying this about anybody, but listen.
My opinion is it's a little more general, just in that she speaks articulately about her positions without having that edge and that scorned kind of woman thing. That's a little off-putting.
Just talk a little bit more about that.
I think that can put off a lot of male voters.
Oh, tell me what it's like. What are you seeing that you're seeing?
When she's, I don't want to use the word, but
you can.
It's that, like, women need to be equal. I mean, I don't feel unequal.
61% in all those three swing states, on average, do not find her honest and trustworthy. You listen to that woman. Can anyone win the presidency, Steve, with people viewing them that way?
No, I think it'd be very hard. And if I'm a Democrat or a big Democratic bundler or a rank-and-file Democratic voter, I'm very nervous about Hillary Clinton being the nominee of my party. And Laura's point is exactly right. If you look at the email story and the way that it's evolved, it's very hard to follow. There's a new story seemingly every day, a new development that, requires putting into context that voters may not be filing. But here's where I think this latest development actually matters. This is cut and dried. I mean, you've got a Platte River employee saying, in effect, we had a directive to cover this up. We had a directive not to report, not to back up the emails as frequently, not to do an exhaustive emails. If that's true, if that person is representing accurately what happened, that is a cover-up. We don't know who the order came from. We don't know that it has any direct connection to Hillary Clinton. But people can understand that much, and that's deeply troubling. I think even to Democratic voters. All right, we're going to get right back into that. Guys, thank you. Great insight from both of you. But when we come back, speaking of this, you hear about cyber forensics. Two cybersecurity experts will weigh in on the new information about Hillary Clinton's server and what it might mean for her future. And then later tonight.
They're never going to accept me because I don't believe in political correctness. So I can twist myself into pretzels trying to fit into their silly little box, or I can be who I am. Vicious attacks against Dr. Benjamin Carson because he refuses to give politically correct answers. He responds to all of those attacks later in studio tonight. That and much more on this busy news night, including a Hannity investigation.